Good morning, good afternoon, good night. Cheers, everybody. I'm coming to you from late morning time here in Reno, Nevada. Um, I talked earlier about how I was going to make a video about boundaries. So here we go. My name is Cole, aka Transpirit Indigo, a soul going through a kundalini awakening experience and a transgender human being. It's good to see everybody out there. I feel like this video is pretty serious, this whole topic, because if you don't protect your boundaries, your life can become pretty chaotic. And some of my most biggest challenges as a human being, I think that I have faced have had something to do with the topic of boundaries and lack thereof. Like lack there of me having boundaries. Art thou lack? Um, yeah. I haven't made a video in a while, and a lot of it has been because of the space I've been in. And when I make these videos, I like to feel clear headed enough to where I can give good advice or share my experience to a point where maybe it could help someone. And it can be difficult to share when I'm going through some heavy stuff. That's what's been going on with me. It's been a pretty heavy year, to be quite honest. Not to sound cliche, but my grandmother's began to exit on her way out in this life in January, and she crossed over and passed away March 1st. And now we are at May 24th. So, we're almost halfway into this year. And there's been a lot of challenges in my life. However, I do believe that with challenge comes learning experiences, and blessings come out of sometimes of our most difficult times. With that being said, I'd like to talk a little bit specifically about boundaries. Okay, so boundaries, how do you define that? Boundaries are limits, they are certain things that we will and will not put up with, limitations, rules that we have for ourselves, for other people, about ourselves. Like for instance, I have a boundary to where you're not going to get closer than about a foot from my face if you're going to talk to me. That's a boundary. Let's really give it about 2 feet, right? Unless we're very close with the person and we just start, oh, yeah, yeah, we're talking to them. But a given stranger, you're not going to feel comfortable with them being right in your face when you may. So, how is it? What's your name? So, where are you from? You're not going to feel comfortable, most likely. Or maybe you're a close talker, and that does give you comfort. But most people are not going to feel comfortable with somebody that close to their face when they're meeting. That's a physical boundary. There are physical boundaries and there are energetic boundaries. There's different forms of boundaries. Energetically, that's where meditation is amazing, because certain people can enter our energetic field and space and we can't necessarily see it. People think about us, especially if we're intuitive, if we're empathic, if we're intuitive empaths, if we're star seeds, or if we're any kind of psychically intuned people out there. We're especially going to feel the energy of people talking about us, good or bad, thinking about us, good or bad. Sometimes people, they're not talking crap, they're talking good stuff about us behind our back. That happens. Sometimes they're talking bad, negatively about us, and we can probably feel that as human beings. We feel that kind of energy. Not all of us, but some of us. And I feel like, honestly, personally, I feel like anyone has the ability to tap into that energy. It's a matter of belief. It's a matter of opening your mind, it's all perspective. Because if you believe something's not true in your perspective and your reality, then it's not true. What's true for you is true for you. It might not be true for others. I am very well aware that there are many people out there that do not believe in anything having to do with the psychic, metaphysical realm. They think it's all bahunky. They don't believe it's real. That's a perspective. I feel the opposite. I feel that it is real. I've experienced it. I experience it every day. And that's my perspective. With boundaries, going back to the whole energetic thing, that's where I failed a lot personally. I recently had this experience that sparked me to want to make a video about boundaries. I thought at just turning 35 years old that I had my boundaries figured out. No, I did not. I did not. And, I honestly feel like I should have known better, because one of my downfalls personally as a human being in this lifetime have been boundaries and have been standing up for myself. I don't like being mean to people. However, it's not just being mean. Let's just say this. For some reason, deep down, it's something I'm working toward letting go of. I don't like being assertive. I can't help but think that some of it ties in with being transgender. Most of my life, I just feel pretty much overall very uncomfortable with people, because I'd say 7 times out of 10, something's mentioned about my gender or lack thereof gender. Since I was a little kid, because when I was little, I dressed in boys' clothes too. Yeah, and on this planet, people put others in categories, and clothes are even in categories. It's, when you really go step outside the box, it's really weird. And I can see this is kind of off topic, but I could see the other side of the box, to where not choosing a gender is weird, because I've been in that pendulum of people, of perspective. I've been in that whirlwind of perspective of, there's girl clothes and boy clothes. I remember that in the early 90s as a kid in the Midwest. Like, that was what was presented to me. Girl clothes, boy clothes, girl toys, boy clothes, you know what I'm saying? So anyway, I saw how weird that was to people. It's like I could experience, especially as an empath and taking in their emotion, I could experience how weird it is that there are people that don't dress accordingly to their gender. And that irked me. It bothered me that it was a thing, because I've always felt like the person that doesn't match the gender that I was born with, the sexual organs I was born with. I don't feel like, because sexual organs and gender are not the same. So, see, I messed up there. And I'm the one talking about it. We're conditioned to think that those two are the same. They're separate, okay? Your gender identity has nothing to do with your sexual organs. And that's something that's what's normal. And that's what I was going to say, is I experienced that perspective from that pendulum, from that side of the fence. But then I grew up and went to the other side of the fence, where I am now, where not having a specific gender identity, that's what's normal to me at this point. And the other side is strange. I think that going through that experience all kind of played in with me having difficulties with setting good boundaries. I was always thrown off, with people's comments when I was younger, and I don't think I knew at the time how to handle them. I don't want to sound like a victim and say, it's all because I'm transgender, I have poor boundaries. No, I mean, it's me. There's deep-rooted things that, for all I know, it could be past life stuff, like deep-rooted cellular memory type stuff that is causing me to have issues with making good boundaries with people. I do feel I'm getting better at it. I do feel that I know now what I need to do to set good boundaries. Like for instance, with my house. Um, I now know that if somebody asks to stay with me, I tell them, X amount of days tops. That's it. There's no room for somebody to try to just like stay for a prolonged period of time, not knowing when they're going to leave, causing me to feel anxious, making me feel like, oh my God, what do I do with this? Like, I don't want to kick them out because they have nowhere to go. However, this is my home. Like, this is where I make my videos. This is where I live. This is where me and my girlfriend live together, and we share our love together, and it's a private thing, right? So that's what I've learned recently, is having those physical boundaries. Now, those are physical boundaries. It's like you can't, you can't come just live with me, or you tell your friend, hey man, you can crash on my couch for a few days, but come 7 days, come a week, you have to leave. It's nothing personal. It's my boundary with my living space, with my life, is I need my own space for my life. And, or whatever amount it is to you, or 2 weeks. My buddy's staying for a couple weeks. Great, have fun. But after those 2 weeks, he needs to know that he can't just stay. Because people, this is what I've also learned, people will push your boundaries if you don't set them. I'm going to repeat that. I'm going to rephrase. Some people, not all people. Not all people. Some people will push your boundaries physically and energetically if you do not set boundaries. That's what I've learned. And I feel like, again, that I'm pretty stunted with my boundaries. I feel like that's one of my flaws, and my flaws and my down point, like just stuff I'm not the best at. I feel like I'm good at communicating through these videos. I don't feel like I'm good at communicating issues with people when it's uncomfortable. Like, I don't like having to tell people negative things about anything, really. But the thing is sometimes in life you have to. You have to tell somebody that they're bothering you. You don't want to tell them that. You don't want to tell them something negative about themselves. Well, here's the deal. If you keep all of that in, it's going to build up, and it's going to build up. You're like sugarcoating. For me personally, what happened is there was a lot of buildup. I felt like I was being talked down to and mistreated, and this person was projecting a lot of their crap onto me. They had just exited a very toxic situation and came to stay with me. So I could feel a lot of that toxicity being brought into my household via their energy. And there was a lot of condescending talk toward me, and I just kind of like put up with it first for a week or two, and I was told by this person that they were going to leave, and that they were only going to be there a couple weeks, and it turned into 3 weeks, and then it was going to turn into a month if I didn't say anything. And I just kind of like freaked out and panicked, and like was more mean about it than I guess I had to be. Well, I don't necessarily say had to be. Here's the deal. Here's what I feel. When it comes down to it, I wouldn't have had to get so stern and so uncomfortable telling this person, hey, you have to leave. When they don't have anywhere to go for like 2,000 miles, okay? I wouldn't have had to tell them to get out, pretty much, and like kick them out in a way. Like give them the 3 days to get out. I wouldn't have had to do that if I would have originally told the person from the get-go my boundaries of staying at my house. Do you see what I'm saying? Because if they were to pull that whole foot in the door technique, they call that in psychology, foot in the door technique. They'll tell you one thing, oh, I'm going to be here a week. Because if they told you, I'm not really sure how long it's going to be, you might say no. And they want to get what they want to get. Now, maybe that's not necessarily what this person was doing with me. It kind of it certainly feels like it. Like a foot in the door technique type deal. I don't know. And honestly, at this point, I can't really care because it's over and this person's gone. And it's like I'm at a point where I have to energetically clear this. Anyway, foot in the door technique. Somebody says, ask for a small favor, and it ends up being a much bigger favor later. But you feel like you can't say no to the small favor. So it's like they get their foot in the door. That's why they call it foot in the door technique. If I would have told her from the get-go, or asked her more questions, you see, if I would have asked her a little more than just giving her the benefit of the doubt, like, oh, she'll understand she can't stay for a long time. No, people don't understand. That's the thing. That is like you want to think people will understand, or they're on your wavelength, but people are not always on your wavelength. They're not always on your frequency. And there's nothing wrong with it. You don't always want to be on other people's frequency, or you need to get on a different frequency for yourself. Either way, the best thing for me, I'm now realizing, would to have asked her some follow-up questions in the beginning. How long are you going to stay? She says, oh, a week. Then I say, okay, well, if anything falls through with your plans, do you have somewhere to go after a week? Because after a week, I cannot house you anymore. I legally am not allowed to have people staying at my rental that long. First off. And second off, I just can't have anyone up in my space for that long. I work a lot from home, so does my partner. Our home is like our sanctuary. It's our workplace. It's our home. It's our everything. This is our private space. I didn't say that, okay? She said, I'll be there about a week. And I said, oh, okay. That's where I could have practiced better boundaries. And I'll be honest, thinking about it a few weeks ago, I would have thought, oh, but that's so rude to just tell people and get so stern with them. And, oh, you can't stay past a certain time. Now, after all the drama I've just experienced, I feel like it is not mean by any means for me to tell people they can't stay at my house past a week. You're not being mean. You're just telling people what your boundaries are. People will respect you more when you have boundaries. You don't ever want to be a doormat. Sorry, I'm moving around a lot in this. I'm having some back pain today. You don't ever want to be a doormat. Oh, excuse me. Lots of coffee. That's what I've learned. So I thought I had to share that with y'all. And if anybody follows me on Instagram and stuff, I'm sure you've noticed that I have been more absent over the past month. And that was a big reason why. I had somebody who was an old extended, it was a friend of mine's family, but the friend has passed away, and it was very awkward. It's been really painful. There's just a lot of stuff, wounds opened up, and so I had to ask myself, energetically, I must be vibrating at a place that's attracting this drama. And the good thing is like I also had come out of a dark night of the soul after my grandma's death. A lot of you know about that. I almost feel like that dark night of the soul almost is like possibly attracted a lot of this, because a lot of this experience had a bunch of my crap come to the surface. And one of the biggest issues I have in my life, and always have, has been having poor boundaries with people and not standing up for myself. I don't have many close friends in real life now, but my partner, but the ones that I do have respect me and my boundaries, and they don't talk down to me or make fun of me. I used to hang out with people that would make fun of me nonstop, and I'd let them, because I kept coming back for more. And I look back now, it hurts my heart to know that I was in that kind of space where I was okay with people just making fun of things about me that I wasn't happy with, things about me that I knew I needed to change. I don't put up with that anymore in my life. I don't allow people like that into my close life. It's unacceptable. We have to show ourselves self-love, and self-love is having boundaries. It's one of the biggest parts of self-love. So I'm grateful I've learned that through this whole 3.5 weeks. So, I mean, tomorrow will be a month of this for me. And then 2 months prior to that, I was coming out of a dark night of the soul when my grandma's death. Like, death can trigger a dark night of the soul when just a lot. And if you don't know what that is, you can check a video out on my page that I made previous to this video. That the dark night of the soul is a time when, during your awakening process, your spiritual awakening process, where a lot of your darkness, your flaws or character flaws or whatever, just stuff from the past, stuff comes up right in your face to the surface, and it's up to you to deal with it. But you want to work through it. The only way out is through. Please remember that. The only way out of your problems is through your problems, to work through them. And that's why a lot of people avoid their problems with whatever, with smoking weed, with drinking, with whatever, drugs, sex, TV, junk food, with sports, the gym, whatever. People will use anything, whether it seems healthy or not, to avoid their problems. Please don't avoid your problems. And I'm asking you this, but I'm also like gonna look at this video and remind myself, hey self, please don't run away from your problems or try to bury them, because whatever you resist persists. Imagine I love how Aaron, I have to shout it out because he made this reference. So I feel like I'm stealing it. So I need to give him love. Aaron Dowdy is amazing spiritual teacher on YouTube. And if you look up Law of Attraction, like, you'll see his name pop up. Like, he's one of the biggest YouTube makers of that subject. He studied a lot of Dolores Cannon, who I trust wholeheartedly and love her work. He made this comment about when you resist something, it's like one of those bobbies in the ocean. You know, the little bobby guys coming up and down. They're out there. They're showing you, hey, don't swim any further. The more you push that down, the more it pops up. That's what he was talking about. And that was a great metaphor. That was a great explanation of that. Imagine that those are your problems, okay? And you're pushing them and you're pushing them, and they're just going to keep coming back up. So that's why I'm asking you, please don't avoid, work through them. To me, I'm working through my lack of good boundaries. I'm working through knowing that I have to tell people no sometimes, even if I know it's going to not make them happy. You cannot make everybody happy. I've also have been a people pleaser in this lifetime. And that's a serious issue. Like, it doesn't sound bad, right? People pleaser. Oh, that sounds pretty nice. No, it's not a nice thing, because when you are a people pleaser, when you're doing that, you're not taking care of yourself. You're not taking care of your own mental health. When somebody is pushing your boundaries to the point where you feel energetically like sick, like it's too much, like their energy is like overwhelming your world, and you're like, oh my God, that's not okay. That's not okay. And that was another issue I've learned with my recent thing, is I shoulda, coulda, woulda told this person after a couple of days of their intense behavior, hey, you're a little much. I mean, in all due respect, I have to be honest with you. And they probably would have like quieted down and gotten weird and possibly passive aggressive. But that's just the thing, is I've also learned is you can't fear somebody being a certain way so you don't say anything. Oh, I'm worried she's gonna get passive aggressive, so I'm just not gonna say anything. That's like being a people pleaser in a way. And that's what bit me in the butt. I kept saying to myself, oh, well, she'll be gone soon. I'll just, I don't want to be mean. I don't want to hurt her feelings. I'm just going to put up with the intensity, like the constant cussing and like loud and abrasive and slamming on my table and just like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. Like, this is too much for me. But I'm not going to say anything until she leaves, because I don't want to upset her. Well, guess what? That's the thing, is that she just didn't leave. And it just kept going on and on and on and on and on. If I would have just said something from the get-go about all this, she wouldn't have been at my house for weeks on end, and she wouldn't have been so like intense, because she would have realized that it was bothering me and it was upsetting me and it was not good for my energy. And that's where I wasn't being honest. So then I got called a fake friend. I'm fake, this and that, which has been messing with my head. Like, oh my God, I am fake. I had to tell myself, you're not fake. You're not going out of your way to be fake. You don't have alternative motives. You're not trying to get something out of somebody and being fake. You're being fake because you're scared. You're being nice, fake nice, because you're scared. So don't do that anymore. So that's where it's like I can take this terrible experience and say to this person, thank you. Thank you for teaching me how to have better boundaries with other people. Thank you. It was a loss of a friendship. That's terrible. However, if the energy isn't going to match, then it's not going to match. And that's something you can't help that. If somebody's energy doesn't match yours and it feels icky and it doesn't work, then it doesn't work. Setting boundaries will allow you to filter through. If certain people don't vibe with you and you don't feel right around them and you have those boundaries, filter through. Okay, move along. Because somebody will energetically respond to them. So their energy is going to match somebody's if it's not yours. But guess what? There's people out there that are going to match your frequency. And you're going to feel safe around, not like your gut's telling you, oh my God, this might be bad. Like to where you're always like, uh-oh, like, am I going to have to go apologize for this person's behavior? When somebody makes you feel uncomfortable and like a ticking time bomb, like you don't know what they're going to do next, that's not fair to you. And sorry, I'm shaking the camera. I have my little Gorilla Pod stand on my table and I know better. I should have said it on something else. I'm like, oh, move the camera. Thanks y'all for watching. Thanks for listening. Thanks for being there for me through my stuff too, because I've been realizing that I like to share these issues when they're fresh, and when I seem to have a resolution to the issue. Like I felt like I've learned some lessons with boundaries, so now I can share it. It's just like I wanted to talk about this a couple weeks ago as it was happening, but I was right in the thick of it and I didn't really know what to say. I didn't want to just come on here and be like, this person overstepped boundaries and I don't know what to do. I knew I needed to go to source and ask God and meditate on it and, just regain my space. I've done a lot of smudging here at the house, clearing of the energy, and this has also made me realize how much more in tune I need to be with my spirituality, with my meditating. Because there's days where I'm guilty of not meditating and just going about the day. The day's never as productive and solid as it could be. Because as an empath, I can feel the disconnection from source. And if you're seeing the angel number 1010, like I've seen that a lot, that can mean that perhaps you think you can't have a good balance between the material world and the spiritual realm, but you can. And a good way to do that is the meditation, because you want to ground yourself to Mother Earth. You want to ground yourself to this earth. That's where I fail a lot, is where I don't do the grounding work and I'm just like flaring and flying everywhere. And that's when we as human beings feel out of control. So always go back to the meditation, my friends, always. And the less we think of it as a chore and the more we think of it as medicine for the soul, because it truly is. So I'm sending you much love and light. Thanks for listening. If you have experienced anything with boundaries that have been extreme and you want to share them, I'd love to hear them in the comments below. Please leave them down there. Oh, there goes my camera again. If you enjoyed this video, please like it. Please subscribe. I'll sub for sub. And I look forward to seeing everybody soon. I hope everyone has a good weekend out there. So my name is Cole, and I don't know. What else do I got? I don't know. Peace and love, y'all.